Hey everyone, it's Robin, Artist Island Crafts, and welcome to my studio. This is my Whip It Wednesday video where I show you the crafty goodness that I've been working on. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the live stream while we worked on some scrappy fabric postcards. I chose the pink one and I made that first, and then we went ahead and made this first. Then we made this one, and wait, one more. I thought there was more. We also worked on the yellow with the butterflies. I always enjoy hanging out with you guys and sewing some scrappy projects. These are all signed. I did the stitching around. That one has yellow, hard to see. That one has some red, or nope, that one has pink. And of course that one has pink. I'm building up my collection so that I can eventually get them in the shop, because I keep talking about it and not doing it, and that's not a good business practice. But I want to make sure I have enough in there, at least 5 of each color, but I would prefer 10 of each color, so that I can do the Rainbow Scrappy Fabric Postcard Club, which just means you would purchase a club, and every month for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, you would receive a fabric postcard that's in a color. That would be really fun to hang them up on the wall and have a nice rainbow look of scrappiness. I do have enough wall space to do that for myself. So maybe that means I need 11 of them. And while I had the sewing machine all set up for fabric postcards, I went ahead and finished the ones that I was working on. Well, actually, I did these before the live stream, but that's okay. This one is the triangles that were cut off from doing the bowl cozies when you cut off the dart. So those are the triangles there. And I stitched around this one. This one's stitched around with yellow, and I just did a bunch of straight line stitching, as you can see. Here's the second one I did with the rest of them, and this one's stitched around with orange thread, because I'm just trying to use up whatever bobbin has the least amount of thread, and that will kind of go with it. So this one had some oranges in it, so I thought orange thread. I did yellow with this one, and it's fine, but I wish I'd have used maybe a red or something like that to bring out that watermelon. But the yellow's fine because there's yellow in the card. Plus they're scrappy and it doesn't really matter. I think these I just needed to stitch around. So this one's diagonal. This one's straight. This one I think is my favorite with all of the zigzags. You can see those right there and over here. I just did the zigzags, and then I went in between the zigzags, and I went in between the zigzags until they were actually pretty close to touching or overlapping. And when I worked on a tote bag project, I had some stitch and flips from my Patreon video this week that I'm turning into a tote bag. So I went ahead and I used the little triangle cutoffs there. They're really small. You can see by me just putting my finger on there how small they are. So this time I put the white triangles down first, and I overlapped it with the colored ones, and I did a bunch of crazy cross hatching just to hold down those points. So that gives you this one where the colors pop. Now this one, the pieces are all the same size. I'm short just one, so I wanted it down at the bottom. But this time I put the colored squares or triangles down first, and then I added the white on top, and it gave you this. And you can see some of them are a bit different sized in there. And I was really surprised that some of my cutoffs were smaller, but I think it mostly came down to how much I overlapped the white fabric. But even on the bigger ones, you can see how different they look just by changing over that little bit of that. So these are all done, and I used this fun greeny, turquoisey, bluey type color of thread on the back, or all around for the, I call it my binding sewing, my thread. So these are the stitch and flip corners from where I pulled all of these scraps from. I did get them into tote bag panels, and they are stitched down in a crosshatch quilting up top, and then just straight line on the bottom for that extra enforcement. You can see that back there. Of course, there's 2 of them for a tote bag, so you have 1 of each. Thank you guys so much for watching my snippet video on Friday. I actually enjoyed kind of picking out little bits here and there throughout the week, and it seemed like a lot of you guys enjoyed it, so I will go ahead and repeat that probably every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on if I get a week that's more fun stuff and less sitting at the computer doing things, editing videos or whatever, I'll go ahead and record some snippets. I really like that name for it, just a snippet video, because it's not a day in the life and a week in a life, because we're not vloggers here. Well, I'm not a vlogger here, I should say. I'm just a little crafty person trying to get some things done throughout the week. So this week is going to definitely be tote bag week, because I have this one to finish. I have this one to finish that I didn't touch whatsoever. And after seeing this one, I had a request for one that's a bit wider. So I used the same fabrics, but a different design, and I created this one. Now I had to wait to make sure I chose the proper fabrics for my customers. So here is one panel. Here is the second panel. And she chose to use this dark green batik for the bottom and the handles. So I'll go ahead and start working on this one, and that'll give me 3 totes to go ahead and do the rest of it, to cut all the lining for them at once. Once you have the fabric out, cut all the lining, cut all the pockets, and just do everything in groups and tandem, and it makes sewing everything a lot quicker. I was actually a little worried that I didn't have any more of this swirl fabric here, but then as I was looking for things in my closet and rearranging things, I found a whole brand new bolt that I purchased from Joann's online after we moved here. This was left over from something someone had shared with me, or something I'd had in the stash, or a combination of both. And now I have plenty more, so I can go ahead and use a swirl on the inside of the bag, so it's kind of a continuance thing. Unless I find something a little more fun for this bag. I'd like to use something like this on the lining, so we'll see. And again, this one still might end up getting a green lining or green handles or both. We'll see. Can you see it? That is the start of our community quilt. Now I just took all the blocks and I put them up on a piece of batting and I tucked it in over my door, so that you guys can get an idea of what blocks have come in and what they look like. Let me go ahead and put a video right here that I did. Here are the community blocks that I've received so far. This one's mine. I just put these down here in case we might end up with a border, but you can see I put some there. There's the flying geese and some more down there. And these are just put up for fun this way. It's not the way it's gonna be. Well, I mean, it could end up this way, but depending on the blocks that come in and how I add other things to it, to maybe separate some of the blocks so they're not all, I mean, I like them all lined up. A whole quilt like this is fun, but maybe I might want to add a thin strip here, or of course it needs something there. And things always change as you start sewing them together. So this is what we look like so far. Thank you guys so much for sending in your blocks. I'll do another video. Maybe we'll do it monthly, depending on how many blocks come in each week or month. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys helping me decorate my sewing space. So as you can see, they're just put up there. Nothing is kind of organized, and there's a couple of purples together that I would separate. But it was fun to see how many blocks we had at once, to get them all put up there and to just see, oh, they do look really cool together, right? Sometimes it can be hard to picture how something's going to look. Now, in all of these little empty spaces, if this quilt was as is, which it won't be, I'm going to be moving things around, but I would need to put a little piece of fabric right here to fill in that gap. And then I like all of these lined up on the side, but I'd want to put a piece of something in here. There's a lot of yellow and stuff, so I would kind of stay away from the yellow, but I would put something complementary in there, just a thin strip, maybe an inch, inch and a half. And then I put all these down, the half square triangles, as a border, and I love that idea, but I don't think I want to have all the same fabrics. Maybe have 2 of them together to make a flying geese, or maybe to just put them all like these right here, so it's kind of like a sawtooth look to it. I don't know, once more blocks come in, or if you guys are like, okay, that's it, we've sent all our blocks, we're good, I'll start moving things around and playing with it. We only need to fill in this space here. So we don't need to have anything huge. If it comes out to be larger, then it can come all the way to the ground and it can go higher up. I'll just put a curtain rod up there. I actually have a curtain rod that I want to see if it's wide enough for it. So that'll be perfect to hang the curtain rod, and then I can pull it to the side when I need to go inside, or I can roll it up with some ribbons like they do with those, there's blinds and stuff that you roll up. I love those blinds, and I can't think of them right now, but you roll them up and you tie them with a ribbon, and that would keep the quilt out of the way so the cats don't think it's a nice place to sleep on or behind. Have to try to stay one step ahead of the cats, but I don't always win on that game. Now, some of these blocks did come in over this past week, so check out the Patreon page, which is always linked down below, my main Patreon. When you click on the link, it'll take you right there, and there's a pinned post. That's what it's called, a pinned post, a post pinned, where you can see all the blocks. And as they come in, I just put the new ones on top, so you can just see the new ones. And then once you scroll a little and recognize ones you've seen, you know you've seen the rest. And I'm putting the first name and last initial, so if I ever miss it and I don't put your name up, or I'm missing a block, or if I put up a block and I write someone else's name underneath it, please let me know so I can easily go back. I can easily go back and change it for you. Now, I also worked on some other things this week. The very, very exciting of the Spool of Thread. This is one of those large ones. This was, I think, what are they, 1,500, 3,000, whatever, yards, inches, however they measure it. This was a big one, and now it's empty. I'll put a picture of what they normally look like when they're full. It took me a while to get through it, but I kind of cheated to empty it. I used the rest of this because I was starting to be able to see the blue, and I did not want to run out on the project, because sometimes it's a little kinky because it has all of these lines in it. So I don't know if it's for the thread to grip or if the thread itself caused the lines, but I'm thinking it's put on there so the thread will grip it as it's doing its crosshatch winding on it. Anyway, used it up, used some of the new one, and I wound all of these. So I thought I would tell you, in case the Amazon listing or you just find these at a thrift store or something, this holds 26 of your basic everyday Brother or Juki bobbins, the little plastic ones, and they really do hold nicely in there. My other suggestion is to keep an eye out for small glass containers, whether they're ice cream or yogurt or pudding or whatever you might get, cream cheese, cottage cheese, I don't know what comes in glass containers, anything that you can clean out. Because in my drawer, which I'm connected, so let me hold on. I got up to get something, so I brought the spool, and in this shot right here, look, there's no more robin. This is 5,000 yards, so you could see how big it is. I love getting a big spool, especially of neutrals or any color that I use often. Right now, I purchased 2 of these in white, so I use these the most right now, and when I get going a little bit more, I'll probably pick up more colors, especially if you're doing like quilts, because you can go ahead and get a lot of bobbins prepared ahead of time. But what I wanted to explain is, can you see that there's a little glass container in here? Now, this is a vegan something or another, because that's why it's a small container, because you don't get much of anything. It was like a fancy yogurt or pudding or something like that, and it fits perfectly inside this bobbin ring. And I have mine full of my empty bobbins, so as they get going through, it comes in and out real easy, but this one holds nicely. It sits in my drawer, so when I pull out my new white cabinet with all the drawers, I can just throw my empties in here, and then I keep the big spools in there also, and I keep all of these in the different ones that I have my thread in. So this one it needs a little bit of work because it doesn't have very many black threads in it, grays and browns and other types of neutrals. These are Missouri Star bobbins. I want to make sure I don't pop that out. These are Missouri Star bobbins, and I just used these when I was quilting this project here, so I wanted to use whatever color that is. I never know, but I really like it, and it's a really pretty color. It's currently in that aqua teal turquoisey grouping peacock color. Yeah, that definitely reminds me of peacock feathers, that really bright greenish color in the centers and stuff, and that shimmer they have on them. We used to have, as a side note, because I love side notes, you know that, when we lived in Pine Island, when we lived in one of the stilt homes, we lived within, the house was on a road, and it was a half acre, so it was set back a little, and all around the house was a palm tree farm. So the house was built right into, well, the house was there, and then they started building the palm tree farm and expanding it all around it. After we left, it was a rental. After we left, it was sold, and the palm tree farm purchased it to house like their workers and stuff, their seasonal workers. But anyway, there was peacocks in those palm tree farms. There was peacocks all over Pine Island, and they scream in the middle of the night like a cat that's being strangled. It was crazy. It took us a little bit to get used to, and then once we and the kids and I and us all got used to it, we could start sleeping through it. But at first, that was a really scary sound. But anyway, have a little container here, glass, plastic, whatever you might have. It's a really nice way to use something, because when this is sitting in the drawer, because it's that rubberized type stuff, it just sits there, so you could put other things in the center and use up some of that space so it's not wasted. One of my other ones, it has my seam rippers all sitting in the center, so I can grab one easily. I used to keep everything out here on the table, or if you remember those buckets hanging from the clothesline, nope, from the curtain rod. Words are hard every day, aren't they? But now I'm finding it's less dusty and less to clean and less to see and look at if I just leave it in the drawer. Plus, I want to put as few holes in these walls as possible. I did have to hang up my rulers. I took my big long rulers down because the light was really making like the look of a TV at the end of the night when it goes off way back when. You guys remember that, right? So that's what it was over there. So I removed those and took them down. I'm just trying to find the right spot for my studio light so it doesn't look like I'm half and half, and it also doesn't make me look even paler than I already am. So I'm counting this as an actual win and a chore for during the week of things I accomplished, because it does take a little bit to go ahead and wind 26 bobbins. I actually wound 28 because I needed one for the machine and one was a partial, so I just wound an extra to balance it out. I'm saving this. Some of you know we have to save these things. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I just always think it reminds me of kind of like a Christmas tree or a tree in the forest. I'm not doing that type of crafting, and I don't have a spot to leave things laying around, but for now I'm going to save it because I like to. I made some more crumb curtain postcards so that I can send them out to my patrons. If I recall correctly, I made 22 of these and I sent out 20, so I have 2 left. So a lot. If you're my patron, you know you've got these coming in the mail. So these were left over from, well, these were cut from the crumb curtain that used to hang in the window behind me at my Cape Coral house on Juanita Place, if you guys have ever sent me mail there. And I'm just turning them into scrappy fabric postcards for a little bit of fun mail. I used to have these in the shop, but they expired and I did not put them back. So if anyone's interested in ever purchasing a crumb curtain fabric postcard, just let me know, send me an email or message me on Etsy and I'll pop however many you need into the shop. But there's no sense letting them sit in there if I'm using them for other things. I have plenty, but I just want to make sure. And as you heard on, none of these have them, but as you heard on Friday's Snippet Show, these are straight line, but I was getting my hand-eye foot coordination for free motion quilting back under control, so I can go ahead and start doing some of that with my tote bags. Please excuse me for any redundancy if you saw this on Friday or previously, but I received this fabric postcard in the mail, and I absolutely love it. I don't know yet what I'm going to do with all of my fabric postcards. I'd really like to hang some up and put others in like a photo album. So if I can find a photo type album or something with the pages that will hold a card this size, then that's what I want to get. So I can just set it out, flip through it, look at them, take them out and show you guys if there's something I want to show you. And then I can just look at the ones that are hanging up around and switch them out periodically. On the live stream, I showed these amazing machine embroidered flamingo item. So this is a card, and I talked about taking this out and maybe turning it into a fabric postcard, I think I mentioned. Sorry, the arm on this chair. Oh, and now you're bouncing everywhere. I had to get a replacement arm because the one that when I got the chair originally, it was broken, so they sent me a replacement arm. But this arm is really stiff, and this arm just falls down. So I have a t-shirt right now covering the back of it just to keep it clean and not tear it until I can put a quilted cover on it. So I just stick the sleeve up into, never mind, you didn't want to hear that, but that's what that big bang was. Anyway, so I received these fun flamingos. This one's a keychain. I cannot put this on my keys because I put them in my pocket. I have keyless entry for my car and I don't want to destroy it, so I will hang this up somewhere. Actually, this is where I'm currently hanging my keys. It's one of those door wall protectors that stops the door from slamming into the wall. And it's a perfect spot to hang my keys, so now I don't have to put a hole in the wall to hang my keys. But this, I want to turn this into something fun that can be displayed, not like a zipper pouch that would wear it out, because it's just it's the cardstock is what it is. So I thought this was just too beautiful not to display somewhere. I could put it in a little frame and hang that up with some command strips. I could put it on my table here so I can see it. So we'll see what happens to it. Now your scrappy word for today is flamingo. Before you started hanging out with me, I just catch this out of the corner of my eye and I have to look. Before you started hanging out with me here on YouTube and everywhere else, were you really, not that you weren't aware of flamingos, but were they constantly shoved in your face? Did you see a lot of flamingos? Anyway, that's your scrappy word for today is flamingos. Tell me a story. Tell me you don't like flamingos, you love flamingos, or you're tired of seeing flamingos. But I'm sorry if you're tired of seeing flamingos because I have one more flamingo to show you. This is the wall hanging, the flamingo wall hanging that's going to be given away for the 50,000 subscriber giveaway. I also have a mini quilt that is a spool of thread. It is probably half the size of this. And it sits this way. And I'm pretty sure it's red. So I'll be giving away one of these and you'll have the option to choose the flamingo or the spool of thread because not everyone wants a quilt that large to hang on their wall or to put over the back of the couch or something, or they might just not like flamingos. So that is also on my list to get quilted this week, but the tote bags have to come first, and before the tote bags, I need to do Friday's video and Sunday's Patreon video. So let me get going. I need to take all of the pins out of that because I didn't want them falling behind me while I was chitter-chattering, even though that would have been entertaining. I knew I would forget one other project, and if I don't show you now and add it in, I won't do it next week. I need to make a new key fob for my son Justin. Here is what his looks like, old and new together. He loves the Blues Clues, so I went ahead and took some of the fabric that I'd used to make a hoodie for him. He no longer wears the hoodie. It's way too big since he lost so much weight. Good job, Justin. And I saved it, of course, and I turned it into a key fob for him. So he has a new key fob, and I also made one for this house because we needed one for the mailbox. Now I want to make 20 more key fobs. So if you need a key fob, let me know if you'd like one a certain color because I'll be making them either this week or next week. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.